Hey y'all, Lisa Davis here, the trusted banker, and going live tonight just to go over some things that have happened that are very interesting in our day to day with all the things that are going on. First, I want to talk about. Let me see if I can find it. This one for me is how I want to start today. It's video after video, right? Video after video of empty Walmarts. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know how I did that. But let's fast forward. Why does it keep changing on me? Okay, so anyways, I wanted to talk about that because I think that is like it's a great it's a great effort and it worked. But I also want to talk about why I think it worked because I think that this is important for us to understand. There were a couple of different initiatives going on today. So what this says to me is that if we always work together, so let me find it. Mm. Okay, so today's economic blackout began from an unlikely source, but it's tapped into Americans' anger. So there is one initiative that is calling itself the economic blackout. And this was started by John Schwartz, a self described mindfulness and meditation facilitator. He proposed a 24-hour nationwide economic blackout of major chains on the last day of the month. Schwartz urged people to forego spending at Amazon, Walmart, and all other major retailers and fast food companies for a day. He said that the system has been designed to exploit us. And so, in his video of roughly 250,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok, he said on February 28th, we are going to remind them who really holds the power for one day. We turn it off. Now, this is Schwartz, 57 years old, has no background in social or political organizing. However, stick with me because I got notifications from my friends and things about an economic blackout. Let me see if I can get to my Instagram page. Because for Black and Brown people, it was more so a DEI boycott. So I got information. How do I get to my home screen? Let's see. I got information from friends. Yeah, this like this. Al Sharpton's boycott plan. So let me see if I can pull this up. And I just thought this is important to say. So Al Sharpton's boycott plan is what I got. And this was a 24-hour blackout on February 28th. But we called it, for Black and Brown people, it was the first step to counter the attack on DEI. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. Don't make any purchases. Do not shop online or in the store. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy, no McDonald's, no gas, no major retailers. Do not use credit or debit cards. Try to buy everything you need before Friday, but if necessary, only buy essentials of absolute necessary items such as food and medicine. But this is Al Sharpton's boycott plan, and I had this sent to me on multiple different platforms, multiple times, right? So this was like the Black the black and brown people's ones because it was a boycott because of DEI and the stores that accepted the DEI proposal. And so what this got me to thinking was that, in my opinion, because I mean, I've done some sit-ins, right? I've done some sit-ins and I've done some protesting. This is the first time to me in my mind that white women have also led, and white men have led a challenge. I'm assuming John Schwartz is white. But the thing is, what we need to recognize is this. Everybody worked together unbeknownst, because there's a third one. I think there's another one. There's a third one that's a name. So we've got the economic boycott, we've got the DEI boycott, and I think there just was another one. This shows that if the American people came together, we could do amazing things. If we all come together, because this was a black, white, red, yellow, brown, everything effort. This wasn't just one or the other, and that's why it worked, in my opinion. And we're going to see some of the numbers. Let me see if they've even started reporting the numbers from these things, right? Because this is very important, especially after, if they've had any results or any feedback from this. Some consumers are not spending money today. Yeah, John Schwartz is a white guy, and he's the one. Let's share this. So that means that this is what it looks like when black and brown people work together. Again, I'll show you the videos of people that work in the Targets, that work in the Walmarts, that work at these places, showing. This is John Schwartz right here. No, that's Ukraine. That's the Ukraine. That's not him. This is John Schwartz. I'm so sorry. This is John Schwartz, the founder of the People's Union USA. And so he put out the call for the economic boycott that happened on February 28th, right? We're going to get to what happened with President Trump in a minute, or Trump in a minute, because I cannot. But so again, remember that this is the result of these stores being 100. It's another store. I just feel like the effort worked because black and brown people came together without even trying to come together. But this is the first time in my life, as somebody that has done protests before, that we see that it worked. And it wasn't just one person's effort. It was like all of us collectively had a different reason for the effort, DEI, economic, whatever, but it worked. And we can show this country what we the people want with our dollars. That's going to be the most important way that we can do things in order to get things to be changing, right? If we don't like the things that this president is doing. And I'm not sure if who all is aware of what this president did earlier today, but let's take a look at that. Because this president really embarrassed the country. Let's see if we can look at that. He really embarrassed the country with the way he behaved with the president of Ukraine in his office, and the way he spoke to him, and the way he tried to bully him, and basically tell him, if you want anything from this country, you're gonna have to like pretty much grovel. Him and JD Vance were a complete embarrassment to the country. So I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but I do want to play that. Wait a minute, where's the volume?
Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States'.
And it baffles me that how come every time they brought up Biden, Obama, why do they have to keep bringing up? I've never heard anybody lead a company that, like, I think of this as a corporation. And so I used to, I worked at the bank. And when there was an acquisition or a merger, and the new bank would buy the old bank, and now they've acquired us, and now we're under a different regime or a different CEO. That CEO never always referred back to the previous CEO about how that CEO ran the country, or the rules that CEO had, or the policies and procedures. This administration is very aggravating and exhausting, because it seems like everything that they do is because of a previous administration or their hatred for somebody. So that tells me they're not leading because they want to lead, and they're not leading in the best interest of the people that they're leading for. This all seems like a bunch of vengeance. It seems like a bunch of anger. It seems very negative, this administration. We all know it's very negative, but they brought up Biden and Obama more times than I could count for the reasons and the conversation that they had with Zelensky. I'm not sure if this is the entire conversation.
Actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about
it. From the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's
with all
backed you
respect to you,
far more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting, have
today.
you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can.
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I,
You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
allowed.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military equipment.
You
And you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course,
It's
yes.
going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell
you
you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
except
times
that there,
thank you
except
to
that,
American people.
except that there are disagreements.
It's just real embarrassing to me. It's very embarrassing and it's childish for them to be like, anyways, y'all get it. Y'all get it. This is who leads this country. I've never seen correspondence between two presidents and the conversation went like that. And Trump did it on purpose because he said at the end, they go through a lot. They want him to grovel. They want him to thank them. Trump said at the end, it's going to make for good TV. Trump only wants the ratings. I promise you, he only wants the ratings. The only thing he cares about are ratings. But so it was just very embarrassing. And they're going to isolate America. And if they don't understand like government relations and government affairs and government, it's going to be hard for our country. So, but yeah, I wanted to go live today. I wanted to try to do like Q&A. I wanted to like see what you guys wanted to talk about. We could talk about some of the other things that's going on with Trump. So of course he proposed the gold card. And we have to remember the first thing that he did before he proposed the gold card when he got into office, if you remember, was he wrote an executive order so that there wouldn't be any he took away the bartering rule so that you could barter when you go in and you work with other countries. So he took that away so that now what he's really doing is selling immigration status to others with this $5 million gold card that he wants to come up with. It's a gold card visa. He sees that rich immigrants will pay to come to this country. So President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that he plans to start selling a gold card visa with a potential pathway to United States citizenship for $5 million, seeking to have the new initiative replace a 35-year-old visa program for investors. Now, there is a visa program for investors where if they invest a certain amount of money in the country, that does accelerate their naturalization process, or it does accelerate their opportunity to come to the country. I don't know how much it costs, but it was about making investments in the country. Him selling a gold card visa opportunity for U.S. citizenship is crazy. If he said, now if we sell $1 million, that's $5 trillion. I want to know, where does the money go? Commerce Secretary told reporters the same meeting that Trump's initiative will replace the EB-5 program, which offers U.S. visas to investors who spend $1 million on a company that employs at least 10 people. This is a little bit better if you spend $1 million and create a company that employs people here versus just giving up $5 million in order to get a golden visa in order to come to this country. The question is, who gets the $5 million? That's the question. Is it going to go to Trump? Is it his initiative? A pathway to citizenship as part of the new program would set it apart from the EB-5 program. Trump said vetting people who might be eligible for the gold card would go through a process that is still being worked out. Pressed on if there would be restrictions on people from China or Iran not being allowed to participate, Trump said it will likely not be restricted too much in terms of countries, but maybe in terms of individuals, because there's a concern there. About 8,000 people obtained the investor visas in the 12-month period ending September 30th, 2022, according to Homeland Security's Department most recent yearbook of immigration status. So 8,000 people paid the 1 million into and getting jobs for 10 people. So 8,000 people did that in 2022. It says, well, the EB, I have donated already so many times to AB. Could sell 10 million gold cards to reduce the deficit. Okay. So I just think it's crazy for people to be able to, for him to come up with a gold card to pay for people to pay for it to get access and status to this country. You said, don't do it, migrants. Trump and Musk both need money. They do. Yeah, let's get to Musk. I mean, I did talk about it already earlier today. I talked about it earlier today. Musk is losing money, and his investors do not like it, right? His investors do not like it. Trump and Vance talking, but they did not give anything to Ukraine, so thank them for what? They're just bullies. They want Zelensky to bow down. They want people to be humble. They like humbling people. Bullies love to humble people to you know what he wants. You know what he wants. He just loves people to praise him, to idolize him, and he loves bullying people. So Mm-mm. So here's some of the memes that have gone up on X. I left X, but these are some of the memes because Elon's losing money. And the thing that's important to know here is that he's lost money on the purchase of X, and Tesla's losing money. He has Starlink and other investments, but if his companies start going down and people start disliking him because of his behavior, he's going to lose money in all of his companies, not just Tesla and X. It says, sir, a second unused Microsoft Teams conference room license has been found. I don't get that. On the other hand, they can argue with some justification that Musk has contributed to all of that. Their CEO has comported himself poorly of late, even excluding his notorious salute at the inauguration. That's when it started going downhill. The market is also waking up to the risk that the first quarter at least will almost certainly disappoint. The first quarter for Tesla sales, first quarter for Tesla stock. Recently, the family values champion ignored ex-partner Grimes' plea for help with a sick child of theirs, even as he paraded their son around to her discontent. Oh, I didn't know he did that as well. So yeah, Elon is just out here making himself look really bad, and people are not feeling him, and that is making his company drop, baby, drop. Stocks are dropping. His stock is dropping. I don't know what that means. So it's not doing anything. And I want to look at the companies. What is stock looking like today? The biggest losers today on TradingView. Ooh, the stock market would do. Oof. So let's show that. I like what you were saying earlier about the FDIC. The FDIC, what part? Yeah, this is the hour to share with you guys. Whatever you guys got questions or y'all want to talk or y'all want to come up, this is the time. I've not really done lives on YouTube, and I am still trying to build the page. So what do you mean about the FDIC? What part? Now, there's a lot going on with the FDIC too, child. These are the big losers today. Let's see. Top gainers. Or health technology is all at the top. Interesting. So the sector, do you guys see the top performers? The top performers are all health technology companies. See, retail trade for that one, but all the health technology, industrial services, health technology. That's interesting. Technology services, health technology, producer, manufacturer, finance, energy, technology, finance, electronic. People always ask, like, where can I find out what stock should I buy or what's doing well or whatever. You can always go to TradingView. You can go onto TradingView and look yourself and see how stocks are moving, what the top gainers are for that day, what the biggest losers are for that day, which ones have the most cash, which ones are overbought. Here's penny stocks right here, the most expensive stocks, the most active pre-market active stocks. So this page gives you a lot of information for free. You can look at things here. So here's some penny stocks if you do penny trading. The stock market is going to be very volatile while Trump's in office. You can make money now if you learn and invest wisely. Hey, Charlie. Hey, the Charlies. Hey, you were talking about the banks closing the accounts. Oh yeah, unbanking people. The funny thing is, I think I did that video before. I think I did that video and then I did a workshop the next day, and somebody came up to me, or did I mention it in the video? Somebody came up to me and was telling me how the bank just closed their account. And I forgot what bank they said they were at. So the FDIC, those Republicans are putting in a request to make it easier for the banks to close accounts. And banks have always had the habit of closing accounts. Banks have always had the habits of closing accounts. Like, I have a stagnant account at a bank. I have like 3 accounts at the bank, and one of them is stagnant because it's just savings. It's just money sitting there. And they did give me a call because I'm real cool with the bankers. And they were like, we need you to do some activity on this account. It hasn't had any activity in like a year. So I know you got money in there, but you need to do some activity or they're going to close it, right? That was a courtesy call. I think what they're saying now is that instead of doing verbals, right? So having that customer relationship and building that relationship and giving a heads up, because if you do build relationships with bankers, they do give you a call. They'll send you an email. They'll say, hey, I see that you might have some things coming in where you don't have any money. Do you want me to move some money from one account to another for you or something like that to cover it? You know, bankers, when you have those relationships, take care of that relationship while you're at their bank. So that was a heads up courtesy call. And so what the FDIC said, what the Republicans are asking for, is to still be able to unbank people to close their accounts. But instead of doing those verbals, that verbals are not going to be necessary. They want to just put it in writing. And when I hear put it in writing, I'm assuming they're going to mail out a letter. A lot of times in the banking industry, when we get those letters in the mail, the action has been done 2 to 3 days prior to. So by the time you get the letter in the mail, they're asking for it to be written. The action has already been done. I don't believe that they're saying they're going to give you pre-warning in writing. I believe they're going to notify you in writing. You know, sometimes if you get an overdraft letter that your account's overdrawn, by the time you get that letter, your account's been sitting there 2 or 3 days overdrawn already. So being able to give those courtesy calls, hey, if you don't, utilize this account, we're probably going to find that you're going to have to close it, versus sending out a letter saying that it's closed. So when I was doing this workshop, I was talking to seniors and I was doing a workshop for seniors. and someone told me that their account was just closed, and they didn't even know it was closed until they went to go use their debit card, and the debit card didn't work. Now that's the kind of behavior that's not conducive to relationship building with banks, right? And it was a bigger bank. So one thing I can say about that, community banks are going to be a little bit more conscientious of how they treat their customers. So community banks are small banks in your community, in your neighborhood. There might not be a bunch of branches, but they know everybody in the neighborhood. A lot of the things they do in the neighborhood are centered around that community. We're going to see a lot more of this uncompassionate behavior from online banks and large banks, where they just close you out and shut you down and send out a letter to notify you. So if you have accounts that are either low balance carrying, they don't have a direct deposit, or you have a small savings, and small could be anything under $10,000 possibly, I'm not sure. You might want to find out if they've changed their criteria, or just check on your account every so often, or check in the bank. This letter just went to the FDIC, so I have to follow it to see if the FDIC is going to create a new rule, if the FDIC is going to accept that context and that communication and try to change some of the rules. And if they do change rules, a lot of times there is an open time for public comments or public awareness. So if that does happen as well, that's when you can turn in your comments. But like I said, somebody last weekend was telling me that their bank account was closed and they didn't know it until they were trying to use their debit card. And in my mind, if they're trying to use their debit card, that means they had money in there. So if they had money in there, they wouldn't lose their money. They would just go and get their money, or the money or a check was mailed out to them, right? But it was just interesting that I just saw this letter from the FDIC, from the Republicans to the FDIC, and then here I am hearing about people getting their bank accounts closed, still thinking they can swipe their debit card and it's going to work, and it's not. And that's a lot of bit inconsiderate. What does that mean for people if they have to use Fintech? Well, the way Fintech operates is it positions itself to look like a bank. So people believe that Fintech organizations look like banks. And so we'll start to see people get very comfortable using Fintech. And now Fintech companies, I think PayPal and Cash App, they are Fintech companies, have now started to ask people, open up a savings account with us, open up a checking account with us, open up a debit card with us, and put your money in an account with us. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to start moving your money from an actual financial institution to be held on a Fintech app, right? I do know Cash App does ask you to move money over there, even Acorn. The problem with that is your money is not insured on a Fintech app. So Chime is not insured. So if you lose your money on Chime, even though Chime asks you to put money in an account to start the secured card with Chime, Chime is not a bank. And so it's not FDIC insured. Chime is sponsored by a bank. And so the language is misleading because it'll say it's supported by a bank, or support. I can look it up and show you exactly. I haven't looked it up in years, but Chime official site. But you have to really go down deep into the fine print, but this is how you can look up all of them. So all these types of things that look real official, right? First of all, they're going to call themselves financial services company. See, Chime is a financial technology company. I don't know how to make my screen bigger, but right here it says Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by the Bancorp Bank NA or Stride Bank NA, members of FDIC. Well, a lot of times, if we're not understanding or paying attention and we see that FDIC just sitting there like that, all of a sudden we believe it's FDIC, it's an FDIC bank. And it's not. It's supported by a FDIC insured bank. So the money that you have on Chime is not insured. It says it right here. So if Chime is asking you, it says online banking, so a Chime account, right? Get an online checking account built for you. This checking account is not insured. This is on a financial technology app. Your money is sitting in space. It's always sitting in space, even at the banks, because we encrypt, it's cash, whatever. It's all digital, right? But when you guys go to these kind of things, if you put your money here and something happens and Chime goes away, because let's look at who owns Chime. Who is CEO of Chime? And that's what we kind of got to start understanding. People just start a LLC, like me and you. It's just that they have friends with money, so they create a company that's they create a company that becomes a multi-million to billion-dollar company. But Chime was founded by Chris Britt and Ryan King in 2012 in San Francisco, California, as an alternative to traditional banking to serve less affluent communities. And people living paycheck to paycheck. This is the problem. See, rich people don't use financial technology services. And I try to set my life up as a rich person. I'm not a millionaire yet, but my goal is to be a millionaire. So I'm on track to be a millionaire. I'm working to get my million. Have I had millions come through me? Yeah, but I want to have that million. I want to have that liquidity, right? So when you see these types of products and services, it says right there, it's for people that live paycheck to paycheck. It's for people that don't have a lot of money. And these types of products charge you a lot of money. They charge you money for every transaction you do. My concern is that as this administration continues to try to deregulate the financial industry, the financial institutions, and create the type of bank that they want, which is in Project 2025, they want to create a type of bank that is basically caters to people with assets. So meaning cash is king. You'll see that equity is king, cash is king, gold will be back in the dollar, and you'll be able to get a house mortgage if you have 20 or 30% down. You'll be able to get a car loan if you have 20 or 30% down, because rich people don't necessarily need to take out loans as much as they need to leverage. So if a rich person comes in and they need to buy a car, they can leverage a bunch of assets and just walk out with the car. Somebody that doesn't have any money has to either have great credit or has to have a big down payment. Same thing with a house. So if everybody that has no money is moved over to fintech, there's not an opportunity to save. You have your monies tied up in the atmosphere. And as they change policies, change fees, change transaction fees, change processes, you're kind of stuck there, especially if now they talk you into having your direct deposit put into those fintech companies. Once you start connecting all these things, you can tell now how hard it is to get your credit card off of some of these apps, right? Or how hard it is to close down things. So just multiply that by 20 million, right? Multiply it by 10, and think about how they're going to tie people up that are living paycheck to paycheck, have their paychecks put into these online apps or these online financial technology companies or whatever they are, and then charge them for every single transaction, or charge them for every transaction, or even starts taking money, out of the account for whatever reasons when they want to up the fee. Just think about how, I'm at Planet Fitness. It went from $10 to $15, so they can just take the money. They don't have to ask, or they'll just send something in, send you a procedure, send you an update or something. But for some people that's living paycheck to paycheck, if all your monies are on all different types of fintech apps, right, there's going to be transaction fees coming out all the time. Hey, Soup Bone. Hey, Tanika. Hey, y'all. It could be a mess. It absolutely could. And so that's the concern as they start to unbank people, especially seniors. I was doing a senior event, and those are the people that were telling me that the bank just closed their accounts. So as they start to debank, that's what they call it. It's either debank or unbank, and close people's accounts. They're going to move them to fintech type things. Let's see, what's another one? I really don't know a lot of names of these things, but as you see, it's just opened by a person that started an LLC, right? So when these things go out of business, and they do, that's what I want to say. When these things go out of business, and they do, for whatever reason, right? He's just the guy that started Chime. It's been in business for about 10 years. Other Chime leadership team members. When these places go out of business, what's going to happen to people's money? Right now, remember, this is Chime. It says it down here. It's a financial technology company. It's not a bank. Remember Silicon Valley Bank. Valley Bank, right? When Silicon Valley Bank went out, Silicon Valley Bank failure. When Silicon Valley Bank went out, it was immediately collected up by the FDIC, and different, like Chase bought some of their assets and liabilities. The FDIC insured all the money. Nobody that had monies at this bank was compromised. Everybody got their money. Nobody lost their money. The FDIC insured this bank, and everybody got their money when they transferred it to another bank. My concern is that these fintech companies, if they don't have some kind of insurance and people have their money sitting in there, if something happens and they go out for whatever reason, everything's lost. Everything's gone because it's just digital. It's just digital money. It's what happened to, I want to keep this tab though. Can you guys see this tab? I want to keep this tab because I want to show you guys something else. Because people think that bank failures are brand new. Here's the list right here. The FDIC is the one that manages the failed banks, right? These are all the banks that have failed. I don't know how many there are, but there's 58 pages, right? These are the banks that have failed. All the banks throughout all the years, back to 2000 and back to October 2000. Bank failures are not new. How many are there? Let's see. I think there's like 400 or 500 banks that have failed. Bank failures are not new. In all honesty, bank failures happen and other banks buy their liabilities and assets, pennies on the dollar. Big banks love to buy the small banks that fail because they get all those deposits in the bank, and banks love deposits. So bank failure is actually part of the banking system's business model, right? Other banks buy failed banks. So this is a list of all the failed banks. So bank failures are a little bit normal. It is what it is. I just wanted to touch on that because I feel like people didn't know that banks failed. I used to work for a bank that bought failed banks. So the FDIC would contact us and let us know if a bank's failing or about to fail, because FDIC shuts you down on a Friday. And on a Friday, they give us the call. And on a Friday, we go into that failed bank and we start collecting all the data, the systems, the computers, the information and all those things, and start the integration transition process. And by Monday morning, right, there's information and emails have gone out to the customers. Letters are now being mailed out. The bank name has changed. Accounts have been transitioned. Nobody lost their money because we acquired a bank through the FDIC that was failing, and it's business as usual, just under a different name. So it's really part of the business model as well, that if a bank failure is going to happen, there are banks that acquire bank failures over the weekend, and that's their process. They go in the heat of the night, and it's an all weekend work thing. That's just how bank, so yeah. That kind of practice. Where is the regulation? Where's the regulation for what? How is crypto going to defeat old money? Because crypto is not necessarily going to defeat old money, but you have to remember what cryptocurrency was created by the people for the people. So it's not regulated, it's not taxed, it's not insured, but it is definitely global, and people are making a lot of money in crypto, and it's going to be like a global currency. So it's not that people are trying to defeat it. It's just that people are tired of these financial institutions that don't help all people. And it came about after the mortgage meltdown. Where is the regulation? The regulation for what? It's to replace old money. Well, we're not getting rid of dollars. We're not getting rid of dollars. It's not going to replace dollars. It's going to be there. It's the future of money. Do I think it's going to replace? I don't know that it's going to replace dollars. I've never thought it was going to replace dollars. I just know as much as I travel, if I could have cryptocurrency that I could take to all countries and I never have to go through currency exchange anymore, and I could go to the countries that I go to and I can use, Bitcoin here, Litecoin here, or what's the other one's going to be? Like if I could use crypto there and I don't have to go through currency exchange, it's very helpful. Because that means you don't have to worry about valuation. It's the same value everywhere. You can use it everywhere and you can, that's it. So the regulation for fintech and folks' money. Fintech is not regulated. Fintech's not regulated. So I don't think crypto, the regulation for fintech. Fintech is a business model. It's not, okay, well, let me go look before I say that, but I don't know any regulations. What are the regulation for fintech? The CFPB was watching fintech closely, right? The CFPB was watching fintech closely and was probably going to start creating some regulation around it, because there's always been this conversation about banks are highly regulated, but other entities that manage money are not. So like Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans is not regulated like a bank, but they can do mortgages just like a bank can do mortgage, but they are not regulated like a bank. So there's always these conversations around the places that can, and now the fintech companies are taking deposits and checks, taking your deposits and having savings accounts, and then they have investment. You can invest through them like an Acorn or something. There's still conversation around what kind of regulations are we going to create for these types of places. To me, that's what the CFPB was kind of working on. So I can show you this page and we can look at it together, because I haven't looked at that yet, because fintech is a new industry. It's just a new industry. It's very new. So here it says fintech regulations from across the web. Anti-money laundering. Who's going to regulate that? Require fintech firms, but who manages it? The ultimate guide to compliance. Okay. Here the CFPB was looking at, is an independent agency of the United States. They're responsible for consumer protection. So they were going to be a stronger regulatory agency as an independent agency to enforce things with fintech to protect people. Fintech compliance and how to maintain it. U.S. fintech entrepreneurs and regulations. Research guides. Fintech regulation guide to financial regulation for fintech entrepreneurs in the U.S. I can start a fintech company. You can start a fintech company. If you have an idea that helps to streamline how monies are taken in and moved about, that's pretty much a financial technology services company. So the fintech regulation in the U.S. is extremely complex. While the United States does not currently have a fintech-specific regulatory framework in place, the activities of fintech businesses will very certainly come with the jurisdiction of many regulators, requiring registration with and compliance with at least one of those agencies. Now remember, they want to deregulate, they want to dismantle all the independent agencies. Just yesterday, Trump put all the independent regulatory agencies under the White House. The FCC, the CFPB, the FTC, the SEC, the OCC, the FDIC. So he wants to put all of those, if he didn't move them yesterday, then he did another executive order to say he wants to move them over under the White House. These were independent, standalone agencies, self-funded. So they were not taking tax dollars to fund themselves. They were self-funded. He wants to put them under the White House because he wants to control, if they put out a regulation, it needs to get passed. It needs to go through the White House first to be approved before they put out a regulation. Remember, Trump just started his own currency, the Trump coin, and Elon wants to start his own currency. And they want to create their own digital currencies and fintech companies. So they want to get rid of the independent agencies that would be regulating that industry. And so that was one of the first, that's one of the first things that they did, right? Compliance should be so that our fintech companies, how are fintech companies regulated? And who is this? This is a blog. Let's see if we can find something a little bit more. But I mean, they don't have any global Federal Trade Commission, Fintech. Here, let's look here. Fintech at the Federal Trade Commission, FTC.gov. Fintech describes emerging marketplaces for new financial technologies, even as companies innovate in the products they offer and how they offer them. Established consumer protection principles apply, keep up on fintech developments at the FTC. Okay, cool. Decrypting cryptocurrency scams, FTC's endorsement guides. People are asking how to comply with the privacy of consumer financial information rule of the Graham-Leach-Bliley. Oh, do we see anything for fintech? Legal resources on fintech, maybe? And I can't, that's grayed out, so that's gone. Fintech Forum, Artificial Intelligence, AI. That's 2017. So fintech is not, it's just not really, we don't have a regulatory, mortgage brokers, fintech, crypto, not regulated. These are things that are not regulated yet. So they're brand new industries and we don't have regulation and guidance around them, which is why the CFPB would do it through consumer protection, but it's not necessarily like how we had big regulation. You said it sounds like corruption. Okay, but didn't Trump just do something with the Consumer Protection Agency? Yeah, he weakened it. So the Consumer Protection, the Consumer Finance, the CFPB, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau was weakened. He did this his first term and he's doing it now. He doesn't allow the people to do work. I don't think they get fired, but they can't do their work. They're told not to do any more investigations into any complaints. They're told to not respond to any of the emails. They're told to not fine any of the companies, because most of the work is about consumers writing in and saying they feel like they were scammed, they feel like they were done wrong, something happened, right? Just like when Capital One had that whole big thing. I don't know if you guys remember, but Capital One had the whole thing around. Let me go see if I can find it, because I want to make sure that I explain it correctly. Capital One, $2 million in interest, right? So the CFPB sues Capital One for cheating consumers out of more than $2 billion in interest payments. What this means, Capital One marketed an account, a card or something. Capital One was marketing an account or a card that said, if you sign up now, we're paying a lot of interest for this savings account. Okay, it was a savings account. If you join us now and sign up and get into this savings account, high yield savings account, you're going to get a high level of interest for this savings account. What they did was a bait and switch. They marketed a high yield savings account and they put everybody in a no yield savings account. So Capital One didn't steal $2 billion. They just tricked people out of all this interest they promised them when all these people came with their money and deposited it into a savings account, because Capital One is also a bank. So that's a bait and switch. That's illegal. You can't do that. Not to consumers. You can't bait and switch consumers. That's predatory lending. That's all the things, right? So the people thought they were going to be making all this money on their savings if they deposited the money into Capital One. Now, the reason banks right now are aggressive about collecting deposits is because banks are not liquid enough. They don't have enough liquidity because people are not spending money, borrowing money, taking out loans, and making money. And so this, to me, the bait and switch was to get more deposits at Capital One, because remember, Capital One was going through a merger acquisition. So they needed to be very liquid to buy Discover, which they're doing, or they did, or it's almost completed. But the point is the CFPB jumped on this and got with Capital One and was protecting the consumers because consumers go in and complain. So they work very fast. The consumer complaints came in. The CFPB said that Capital One promised consumers a 360 savings account, but Capital One put them in a different kind of savings account. And around the same time, Capital One created a virtually identical product, the 360 performance savings, that differed from the 360 savings, only in that it paid out substantially more in interest, at one point more than 14 times the 360 savings. So Capital One did not specifically notify 360 saving account holders about the new product and instead worked to keep them in the dark about the better paying accounts. Imagine if you could have got 14 times the interest, right? So the CFPB alleges that Capital One obscured the new product from its account holders, and that cost all these consumers that believed they were going to make all this money on interest $2 billion in lost interest payments. So this is the stuff that the CFPB does. And so Capital One, they probably fined them. The enforcement action was under the CFPB. Wait, I know they had an action. I know they had a corrective action that they did. Typically, the CFPB fines these banks, right? And they make them pay and they make them do something. So here it says Capital One marketed it. Yeah, but we know the website's not as accurate as it was because now we know that Capital One dropped. I think this came out today or yesterday that the CFPB dropped complaint at Capital One. So right here, this came out yesterday. The CFPB dropped its enforcement lawsuit against Capital One, Rocket Homes, and more. So this is the action because of the presidency, right? Because the presidency is weakening the CFPB and put void over the CFPB, and they don't want the CFPB to enforce any lawsuits or any fines or any corrective actions against financial institutions, fintech institutions, mortgage institutions. They made them drop all of these things. So the CFPB dropped several enforcement actions against companies like Capital One, Rocket Homes, just weeks under the new leadership and turmoil at the agency caused by orders from Trump administration. So all these things hurt consumers, right? In notices of voluntary dismissals filed on Thursday, so yesterday, the CFPB dropped the lawsuits it had brought against Capital One, Vanderbilt Mortgage and Finance, owned by Warren Buffett. They put people, Vanderbilt Mortgage, yes, they got fined because the people that were writing the mortgage at Vanderbilt Mortgage were putting people into home mortgage loans that they could not afford. They were fudging their income. So even though people were giving them their documents and everything, they approved so many loans last year. And what happened is people couldn't really afford them, and it forced them they went into foreclosure. They went into foreclosure and lost their homes. And so they were being fined as well. All these suits were filed under the agency's previous director last year. So what happens is when these regulatory agencies fine these banks, they fine them millions and millions and millions of dollars. They try to make them help to make the people become whole again, right? And they put it in their public record because this is bad banking practices and it's not good for people. So let me see if I could and this was Warren Buffett's mortgage company. I was shocked because I have Berkshire stock. So yeah. In one example, Vanderbilt approved a loan for a family that already had 33 debts in collection. And as a result, the family started to fall behind just 8 months after the loan was approved. So see, they put a ton of people in bad mortgages. They put borrowers in mortgages they couldn't afford. They were given to buy manufactured homes from Berkshire Company, but the lender called the lawsuit unfounded. It's not unfounded if you're not underwriting to safe and sound banking practices and making sure that you're following the payment models to make sure people can afford the payment. So so the CFPB was on that. So that's the kind of work that the CFPB does. And so they got rid of it. So that's how Trump dismantles it, by telling the people that work there, they can't do the work, right? They just don't let them do the work. They don't let the DOJ do the work. The DOJ is a big component of making sure that banks are following regulation and doing safe and sound banking practices and doing good lending and doing equal lending, fair housing, all these things, right? So moving all these entities into the White House sounds like corruption. It all sounds like, who is soup bomb? Because that's the word for the day, corruption. Okay, but then Trump just do something. So that's how he weakens the CFPB. He don't let the people do their work. And now they dropped all the lawsuits. So that makes the banks happy. So the banks have been lobbying, right? The banks have been lobbying. The banks have been complaining. The banks can't make no money, right? Banks are not making money. They're profitable, but they want to make more money. They want to get into digital currency. They want to lower their liquidity requirements, which I just saw. They're putting in the conversations to lower liquidity requirements again, which is why if banks don't, and they want to not have the stress testing be as significant as it once was. They want to reduce that. Like they want to reduce all the things that keeps banks safe. So we're going to have a bunch of bank failures coming up. That's just all that's going to happen. We're just going to have bank failures again, whether they happen under Trump or not. So moving all those entities to the White House, yeah, I can show you that too because I saw that. So yeah. It's either going to be under the White House or under the Treasury, who is his guy anyways at the Treasury, right? So, it's a weird picture. But yeah, so executive order on Tuesday, he wants to bring the independent agencies in. Oh, I didn't know it was 80 of them. I just know the financial ones really. 80 agencies. Let's see who it is. 188 pages, but who's the agencies? Administrative Conference of the United States. Oh, that's 2018. Hold on. I don't want to go through that. I don't know what that is. Hold on. Sorry about that. FEC. I don't know if this is a good article. Trump targets the FEC. FEC is the federal. Who is the FEC? Do I know? That's not a regular. Which one is that? Why is it just giving me one? That's not a good article. I wanted to see all the ones that they're doing. Well, NPR is a good article. I do like NPR. Trump claims expanded power over independent agencies. Let's see. So yeah, Federal Reserve, a part of the Federal Reserve, Securities and Exchange Commission, Consumer Product Safety Commission, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It exempts the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors and Open Market Committee. Who else? Trump has already fired high-ranking officials, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the National Labor Relations Board. So yeah, he wants to put all these things up under him. It really does have to do with Project 2025. There are no independent agencies. Congress may have viewed them as such, but they are independent, meaning that they don't answer to anybody. SEC, FCC. So there are different strategies with each one of them each one of them about how you dismantle them. But as an administration, the whole notion of an independent agency should be thrown out. They don't want anybody making rules that they don't have anything to do with. They don't want anybody to make rules. They don't want any agencies to make rules they want to make all the rules, right? That's what are they saying? This is going to be an oligarchy or whatever. So yeah, that's what's coming up. Do you know any legitimate banks out of the country that U.S. City safely bank with? Oh, yeah, any of them. Getting an account in another country is very difficult, right? I don't know about Swiss bank accounts, but I think there's $1 million minimum, right? When I was in Costa Rica, it's nearly impossible for you to, their banking system is a little different than ours because they don't have a credit system. So their banking systems in other countries, and I can't speak for every country, but I know in Costa Rica, it's definitely difficult to open an account there because everything goes through the bank. Like they pay their mail through the bank, they pay their bills at the bank, they pay their homes through the bank. Like the bank does everything. It's like it's everything. So it's hard for a foreigner to just come to that country without citizenship and open up an account in Costa Rica. I don't know about other countries. Like I said, the Swiss bank accounts is $1 million minimum. I don't know about Canada, but we do have Canadian banks here. So we have banks that are from other countries here, again, in America, right? So we think about, let's see, foreign banks in America. So these are a list of foreign banks. I don't want to do that though. Directory of foreign banks, the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, list of foreign banks. Okay, so let me share this. So the reason I'm saying this is because you might find some foreign banks that are already here. Because when I go to other countries, you see those banks in those countries. Does that make sense? I don't know what countries you go to. So the Bank of India is here and in India. The Bank of Taiwan is here and in Taiwan. The Bank of Singapore is here and in Singapore. So BNP Paribas is here and it is in Paribas, wherever that is. What is that, right? So if I were you and I was looking for banks that would be in foreign countries, you can go to banks. We have international banks. These are international banks. The Philippine National Bank, they got a branch in California. Shanghai Commercial Bank is in California, right? So these banks are here and in other countries. So if that makes it easier for you, other than that, you would need to go to another country and try to open an account. And for real, we don't just let people come over here and open an account. So you would have to make sure that you find out what the requirements are, how much money you need. Trump about to mess up the relationship with Canada. Yep, we need BRICS citizenship. Sorry for the typo. Yeah. So when they have a bank failure, do the depositors lose their money? No. When they have a bank failure, we transfer the monies over to a different bank, whoever acquired them, and then the deposits are just at the new bank. So if it was Bank of the Banana on Friday, it'll be Bank of the Apple on Monday, and your deposits are still there, and the loans that you owe, the payments that you owe are still there. So you still have to pay your car note or your house note to the new bank that bought the old bank. So when banks fail, people don't lose their money. When banks fail, you also don't lose your loan. You still owe your loan. So nothing changes, just the name changes. So I don't know if we can just join BRICS individually. I don't know. I haven't checked into it enough to see that. But I do know a lot of people are. There's a whole crew on TikTok about BRICS, right? But again, them the same people buying gold and stuff. So yeah. You're welcome, Soup Bone. Any other questions? I did just want to do Q&A and stuff and see what you guys are thinking, how you were feeling about stuff. Let me go. I didn't look at my employees return to the office as workforce shrinks. So the FDIC, it sounds like the way they are weakening it. Oh, and I don't have an account with Bloomberg. Bloomberg gets on my nerves. All these places want you to prescribe. I would be prescribed to so many dang on news. Share screen. So it looks like the FDIC is going back to work, but it said they lost 700 employees in February, buyouts and firings. Workers now must report to an office within 50 miles from their home. These kind of things are what makes it hard for people to stay at the company. These are the kind of things that are going to force people out. So the FDIC ordered all of its employees to return back to the office by the end of March, with only a few exceptions. The FDIC employees will have to report to the agency's Washington headquarters or regional field office to work full-time beginning March 31st. 500 FDIC employees this month accepted the Trump administration's fork in the road deferred buyout offer, and the agency fired 170 employees. The agency is also expected to cut its workforce further as part of the Trump administration's reduction in force plan. The FDIC had approximately 6,200 employees in March 2024. The acting chairman, Travis Hill, told employees that the agency will be smaller at a February 14th all hands on meeting. So that's how they weaken it. And then something I read that as they start to weaken it and these agencies are not doing the work that they used to do, that's when they'll have the justification to merge them, because they'll say, well, they're not doing that much work anyways. We don't have that many people here, so we might as well merge them all together so that they can do the work together. And bringing all these agencies together is just not a good idea. I don't think people should go back to the office. People get more work done in the office or out of the office. And it's very, people are still doing the work and making people go to work, especially if it's a single mother or a single father. It could be an inconvenience. As long as they're doing the work and they're set up, why do they need to be in the office? They don't. What's happening is all those commercial buildings sitting empty are now a bad investment for all the millionaires and billionaires that's invested in all these big corporate buildings, and they just don't have nothing to do. They don't have anything else to do for them, right? All these big high rises, all these big buildings with the names at the top, they don't have anything else that they can do with those empty buildings. And so they've been trying to figure it out for the last couple of years, actually since the pandemic, what to do. Should we make it into housing? Should we make it into hotels? Right? So it's just a lot of empty, vacant real estate out here that's not bringing in any money, that's cutting into people's profits. And so, yeah, they want people to come back to work. But I don't feel like people need to be in the office to do their job. People work just as well at home as they do anywhere else. You're welcome. Thank you. I haven't done a 1 hour live. I think I'm long. That's good. That's long enough. So any other questions? I just wanted to get on live. I'm trying to build up my YouTube. My YouTube is going to be about talking about financial, the stuff that's going on. I focus on wealth generation, money management, small business startup, and I'm going to do long form content on YouTube as far as like educational stuff. And I did just start a section to help people if they do have a small business, to understand how to maybe, like I just put that out there to write your business plan. I'll put more stuff out there as I go along to help you if you're a business owner to understand how to get funded. So if I put stuff under the business section, it's going to be the things that banks look for to have your paperwork right for funding opportunities. Yeah, it's going to be about that. And then I talk about money management, budgeting, and try to help you guys understand what's a good way to manage your money, what's not a good way to manage your money, what are the systems that you should use that are good, what are the systems you should, so things like that, and answer your questions and just try to keep people's anxiety down around all the things that are going on right now. Definitely, I'm a regulatory compliance officer, so that was my job in the bank. So I pay attention to all the regulations, and that's why I bring up the regulations on my platform and go through it and read through it and try to talk to you guys about it, because we need people to understand how the rules are made. When public comments come open, how the public can go in and make comments and let their Congress people know what they want and what they don't want, but also watch how this process happens and how it impacts you in the long run. So that's what I do. And that's what I'm going to do with this page. And so, yeah, so like, share, subscribe, and recommend it to other people. And yeah, I'll go live from time to time. And yeah, that's why they need to work from the office. Trump's last administration, he was on the golf course a lot this time already last month. So yeah, and I'll be following Trump. I'll definitely be following the regulatory agencies. I'll definitely be following how they're going to recharter the banks, because that's the next thing on their list. They want to create a new type of banking charter that is going to make the banks a free bank, and banks will be chartered differently. Right now, banks are state chartered and federal charters. State charters, federal charters, Bancorp. So they want to change the charter And they also want to move people out of the banks into fintech. And they also want to do back the dollar by gold. So they're going to give the valuation of money different, and they're going to change the way borrowing and saving is done. So I'll be following all of that, following what the Republicans are doing and all those things. And I'll be posting it here. So yeah. And if you guys got questions, I don't know how YouTube works. There's no messaging here. So if you got questions or whatever, you put it in the comments. I read my comments. I see what you guys are saying. So yeah, if you got questions and things, let's talk about it. Tell me what you want to talk about. And I'll post about it, or I'll talk about it, or I'll do a live. So yeah, this was cool. So thank you for hanging out with me for an hour on a Friday. I appreciate you. And I will see y'all next time. That's good. That's good. I'm gonna give you a Friday night back. All right. Y'all have a good evening, and I will see y'all later. Bye.